Hello YouTube, this is NJ 4 out of 5, and this is part 5 of my e-bike battery build. I wanted to save this for this part for a video by itself, the BMS and the active balancer, because I don't see a lot of time this being focused on. I'm going to show you the way I install a BMS on higher, I guess, voltages. I've never done a 14S before, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it together like I do any 6, 8, or 10S. A lot of times you'll find that it's easier to label your cells. Typically I have a smaller pack and I'll label them on the side with, you know, a piece of masking tape and stuff like that, but because this is a bigger battery, I just went ahead and went straight on the cell. It's the same on the opposite side, starting with B plus and B minus, B2, B1's underneath, B3's underneath, B4, B6, all the way to B13, I believe. You also want to keep an eye on stuff like this. For instance, this active balancer, B1 is actually starting on this side, and on the actual BMS, B1 starts on the opposite side. So that means that whenever I go to install this, the black wire B1, or it's actually called B minus, B minus or B1, I guess it would be, or no, B0, that's what it is. I forgot how these things go. Anyways, B1 or B minus is on this side, starting on this side, as opposed to this one where B minus is starting on this side. So you want to make sure that whenever you go to solder these on, that you do them correctly. I'm going to do mine a little different. What I plan on doing is I plan on taking this BMS and adding, I plan on taking the active balancer and adding something like this. What I'll end up doing is it'll go plugged in, and then I'll have all the wires going to this. And the reason why I have it going to this is because this is the perfect size for balance cables. And what I'm going to end up having to do is using standard balance cables, and I'm going to have to make a 14S cable. And what I'm going to end up doing is I'll probably leave them loose. I probably won't you know, glue them together like I have in the past. That way, if for some reason I have to do a different kind of balancing besides the active balancer, I'll have it split to where I can use something like the ISDT. I think another thing I'm going to go ahead and do too, and I don't think I'm going to use this one, but I have some heat sinks, and I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take off this paper that they have right here, and I know the FETs are somewhere right around here, and I'm going to take a heat sink and I'm going to thermal grease down, and then I'm going to put the heat sink on top, and I'm probably going to use like maybe ties to keep it strapped down till, you know, just a way to keep it cool inside the box. The heat sink ain't going to make it any bigger than it should be. I might even put little things on here to have this kind of set up off the battery a little bit. This is actually going to be riding somewhere right about here, and if I had to guess, once everything's installed, this will be riding somewhere on top of that, or close to it. I won't really know until I get the box built and stuff like that, but I want to at least get the balance cables on there. I want to apply the BMS, and then get this soldered up. Another thing I did is, in my last video I explained how I've actually got rubber gloves this time, I just don't have them on right now. I explained how I accidentally touched a certain part of this and I got kind of a little jolt of electricity that let me know that there's a lot of power going on here. So I have everything taped up, and what I'm going to do is, see how I have them labeled, you know, B2, B4, B6, B8, B10, B12. That's so I don't have to flip the battery as I'm putting on the cables. I can do this side, then flip the battery and do the other side. That way I can constantly going back and forth, back and forth. I put tape on both sides, and what I'm going to end up doing on the other side too is, after I labeled everything, I marked these little tiny parts of where I'm going to go ahead and throw some solder down. I'm going to tin them. I'm going to cut it out and then remove the tape, cut it out, remove the tape. Then I'm going to solder these little parts right here so that I can solder my cables there. On the B minus and B plus, I'll probably end up doing the same, some little solder placed right around here. But I'm gonna take some 12 gauge. I got more 12 gauge. So I'm gonna take 12 gauge, and what I want to do is I want to solder it something like this, kind of like a circle, so it gets the complete part of the battery. And then to the BMS, the same with the positive. I'm going to use XT90 connectors for my charging and my discharging. So I'm going to end up using two pieces of 12 gauge wire. The charging though, I'm not going to go around like I did for the battery and the main cable. The charging, I'm just basically going to solder it straight on there. And then after we get the BMS and stuff on here, we'll go ahead and shrink wrap it up. This is the first time I've ever shrink wrapped anything this big. I ended up buying this off of Amazon, and it's I don't think it has a size on there. Nope, this don't have the size on there, but I'll break out my tape measure and give you a quick measurement. In inches, it looks like this is 16 inches wide. I tried to go with the widest one I could find because I figured it would fit perfectly over the battery in this direction. And from what I read online, these shrink to almost like 40 to 30%. So I should be able to go in this direction too. The only thing I'm gonna do is, after I shrink wrap everything, I'm gonna make sure that my balance cables are out, of course, my charging cables are out, and the discharge cables are out. And I'm gonna cut around the heat sink, and that's gonna be the only thing sticking out of the blue. And that should be it. This battery not only is going to be controlled by the charge controller, but I'm also going to be using something like this to keep an eye on the voltage. I have two kinds of these. I have a flush mount, and I have this one. It's a Coolertron wireless VAT meter. I believe this one's like 50 amps, 100 volts. And this one uses either you can use it wirelessly, and it goes with a shunt and a relay for the shutoff. So I'm gonna figure out how to incorporate this in there too, and this will let me know how much voltage I got going into the battery and how much voltage I got going out. And it also let me know how charged my battery is, and it'll also protect the battery from any discharge over 30 amps. So that's a lot of circuitry to the battery. More than likely, after I build this part in part 6, we're going to go ahead and start on the construction of the e-bike. I want to get the battery box built first. I still have no clue how I'm going to build it. I'm still looking at videos online, seeing how everybody's done theirs, and right now I plan on just building a box around there and building some kind of side panels. I know that on this e-bike, the build that I'm doing, I would like to have speakers on there, Bluetooth speaker. I've already purchased the speedometers and the front lights and the tail lights and stuff like that. So I've got mostly everything I need for this build, and I think after this battery, it's all going to be downhill from there. This is probably the most complicated part of it, and I hope that other video helped a little bit. It was the first complicated battery I've ever done this big, and hopefully it's not the last. So I guess we'll get straight into how I install the BMS. All of his 18650 cells were recovered from high-grade medical packs manufactured between 2015 and 2019. Each box of the 3000 milliamps have genuine NCR 18650As or NCR 18650BF and are capacity tested twice for verification and quality control. Each allotment sits for over a week and the voltage is rechecked prior to packaging. A random sample is taken from each and capacity checked prior to packaging. His testing equipment, all of their electrical equipment and cells are capacity tested and charged with 100% clean green solar power. His whole shop runs on solar energy. It's freaking nuts. Out of the pack voltage is 3.4 to 4.05. Discharge testing conducted on Opus BTC 3100 V2 units at 1000 milliamps and onboard setting of 4.2. His recharge is conducted via charging stations at 1000 milliamps using TP4056 chips. Cells are monitored during charging and discharging to prevent overheating. Each cell has been tested, the capacity written on it. And from talking to him, I think he said that he does not like cells that even get above 40C. If a cell fails any of their tests, we don't try and save it, we bin it. Cell reclaiming. We go processing each cell and remove the spot welds the best they can and clean as much of the special caulking that is used in the medical packs. The caulking used in packs are quite sticky and sometimes during the process of removing the cells, the caulking can damage the sleeves. Therefore, he includes 100 dark blue sleeves with each purchase free of charge so that you may have a uniform look to your build. We also include 2 additional free cells as a just in the case protection so that if 1 or 2 of the cells in the lot fail, you have an instant replacement. And if none of the cells fail, then you have 2 extra cells to add to your build. His shipping, all of their cells are pre-packaged in custom double-walled boxes, and each cell in its own spacing protects from the other cells during transport and placed inside of a separate shipping container. Each box is clearly marked with a MAH rating range ordered, and the free 100 dark blue sleeves. 2 extra cells are affixed to the outside of the inner box. Each box is clearly marked with the MAH rating range ordered and the free 100 dark blue sleeves with the 2 extra cells that are affixed to the outside of the inner box. The owner, of course, is a DIY power builder and knows exactly what we're looking for during our builds. Good quality, reliable cells and equipment that won't fail the first time you use it. We're selling you exactly the same cells he's using for his build. So if any of you guys know Terry, then you know that he posts pictures on his Facebook page, and I'll leave that down in the description. I'll also leave the link to his webpage down in the description if you guys want to get your hands on any of these cells.
Why do I feel like I linger? Linger between the words to say the words to remember. Now we're here to take control over your body and over your soul. We're gonna take back everything and lose it all, lose it all. We lose it all. Feel it in your arms, feel it in your legs, feel it on your fingertips and feel it in your head. Just let your body go, just let your body go, just let your body go and move to the rhythm. Now we won't go back home today, until the very last hour. We still got few more days to slay, it's gonna get so much louder. Now we're here to take control over your body and over your soul. We're gonna take back everything and lose it all, lose it all, we lose it all. Feel it in your arms, feel it in your legs, feel it on your fingertips and feel it in your head. Just let your body go, just let your body go, just let your body go and move to the rhythm. I wonder what went wrong today, Why do I feel like I linger? Linger between the words you say, to say the words you remember. I wonder what went wrong today, Why do I feel like I linger? Linger between the words to say the words to remember. Now we're here to take control over your body and over your soul. We're gonna take back everything and lose it all, lose it all, we lose it all. Feel it in your arms, feel it in your legs, feel it on your fingertips and feel it in your head. Just let your body go, just let your body go, just let your body go and move to the rhythm. Now we won't go back home today, until the very last hour. We still got few more days to slay, it's gonna get so much louder. Now we're here to take control over your body and over your soul. We're gonna take back everything and lose it all, lose it all, we lose it oh. Feel it in your arms, feel it in your legs, feel it on your fingertips and feel it in your head. Just let your body go, just let your body go, just let your body go and move to the rhythm. I wonder what went wrong today, eh? Why do I feel like I linger? Linger between the words you say, eh? To say the words you remember. I wonder what went wrong today, eh? Why do I feel like I linger? Linger between the words to say, eh? To say the words you remember. Now we're here to take control over your body and over your soul. We're gonna take back everything and lose it all. Lose it all. Lose it all. Feel it in your arms. Feel it in your legs. Feel it on your fingertips and feel it in your head. Just let your body go. Just let your body go. Just let your body go and move to the rhythm. Now we won't go back home today, eh? Until the very last hour. We still got few more days to slay, eh? It's gonna get so much louder. Now we're here to take control over your body and over your soul. We're gonna take back everything and lose it all. Lose it all. Lose it all. Feel it in your arms. Feel it in your legs. Feel it on your fingertips and feel it in your head. Just let your body go. Just let your body go. Just let your body go and move to the rhythm. I wonder what went wrong today, eh? Why do I feel like I linger? Linger between the words you say, eh? To say the words you remember.
Oh,
I wonder what went wrong today, eh? Why do I feel like I linger? Linger between the words to say, eh? To say the words to remember. Now we're here to take control over your body and over your soul. We're gonna take back everything and lose it all. Lose it all. We lose it all. Feel it in your arms, feel it in your legs, feel it on your fingertips and feel it in your head. Just let your body go, just let your body go, just let your body go and move to the rhythm. Now we won't go back home today, eh? Until the very last hour. We still got few more days to slay, eh? It's gonna get so much louder. Now we're here to take control over your body and over your soul. We're gonna take back everything and lose it all. Lose it all. Lose it all. Feel it in your arms, feel it in your legs, feel it on your fingertips and feel it in your head. Just let your body go, just let your body go, just let your body go and move to the rhythm. I wonder what went wrong today, eh? Why do I feel like I linger? Linger between the words to say, eh? To say the words to remember.
Alright guys, well that is my take on a 14S 10P battery pack. You guys seen how I marked the battery up, marked every single cell. I make sure to mark every single wire, that way whenever I threw it together there was no questions. Double check, triple check, quad check, keep checking, make sure no matter what you do that you're connecting these correctly. Also, as soon as I was done, I made sure to triple check each of the balance leads to make sure that those were correct. I also checked the BMS leads to make sure that was correct. As you can see, I'm not the greatest at the shrink wrap, but I got it done. So, you know, I mean, it's decent. I mean, you're not gonna see it because it's gonna be covered in a box anyways, but I think it's pretty good for my first time. I'm sure I'll get better. As you've seen, I like to use a lot of this tape. I don't know if any of you guys use this, but Dr. Shrink heat shrink tape, this stuff is awesome. I'm not going to connect the active balancer right now because the active balancer wouldn't really do nothing, and that's because these are perfectly balanced right now as it is. It's been that way ever since I built it. They're all sitting at like 4.18 volts right now. Let me think. Also, I may be placing this on the side here, so I'm not 100% sure. And I think the reason why I'm going to place it on the side is because whenever I put the box on, I'm going to do a little cutout where I can see what the battery is doing. Also, as you guys notice, BMS plugs to hobby charger plugs are different. So I had to make this kind of like extension. I believe this is like 2.0 or 2 millimeter spacing. This is like 2.5 millimeter spacing. You want to make sure too, before you plug in your active balancer, that you plug it into here first. That way, as you see that I use two 7S plugs, make sure you plug it in, see black, make sure you do black to black. That way everything is exactly the same. Once you plug it into this, then go ahead and plug it into your active balancer. You should see something happening right away depending on the battery. This one, I doubt it would even come on. It might start and then it would shut itself off because the battery's completely balanced. Also, make sure on your ends, after you put them on, that you've masked them with tape, because you don't want no accidents. Balance cables on hobby chargers are actually, they're small enough and that if they hit some wires just right, they can cause arcing and stuff like that. So you want to make sure to cover those up. Also make sure to cover up the ends. That just keeps it all safe. So I mean, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Another look at my schematics again. This is how I plan to build it. Plans change, but this should be the way I plan on building it right now. If you have any question about how I build it, just make sure you leave it in the comment section. I'm pretty fast at getting back to people. If not, give me a little bit, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you have any question about how I built any of this at any time on any of my videos, just leave them in the comment section. Please like, subscribe, and share, and I will check you guys out on part 6 of my e-bike battery build.